verified. I see the stop button. That implies that if I stop the recording, we won't be recording anymore. But we are because What's up? Did I robot out?
You froze for me. Your video is frozen for me.
Oh,
I don't know if that matters.
It doesn't
doing
because
the recording,
everything's clean on my end. So as long as I have visual fidelity, everyone else has it. So welcome to the Common Briefing Program, a monthly train wreck where we pretend to be reporters. By that, I mean we are three friends that really like to talk about geek news, and so we do that. We've been doing this podcast for a long time, so why stop now? We try every month to go over the last... Oh, am I doing something ridiculous in a frozen...
You kind of look like... Have you ever seen that meme with... Oh, you just moved a tiny bit, but you ever seen that meme where it's just like... You just use it for like, oh, if I want to go to something really bad, and you just send the picture of like this little, it's like this little girl who's like doing this like running pose.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if you.
Oh, I
can't see you, so I don't know if you're replicating.
You'll see in the final product. I nailed it. Okay, good. That's excellent.
Well, you've been nailing that impression for the past 5 minutes for me.
Happy to oblige. My name is Colin. I tend to run these particular installments. We call them briefing programs because we try to give you a rundown on geek news over the past month. So we are recapping all of the geek news that we find interesting, impactful, or important for the month of February 2023. I'm not going to lie, my roster is a little bit light this month, not just because I don't think there was a lot of news that struck me, but also because, and this will pivot into our vibe check, I took my first ever vacation. As an adult or child, I went to a destination, I relaxed, and had no responsibilities for a week. That has never happened before. So there was a very, and during that week is when the one thing I want to talk about happened, which is infuriating, but I'm feeling at once tired because I have stuff that's happening now, but also like kind of reset, ready to get back into it and learn about some stuff that I missed because I was out of the loop. How are you guys doing? What are your names and what are your vibes?
My name is Jeff, and my vibe is tired, as per usual.
We are a consistent bunch.
I've been doing I think I've talked about this before, but I'm doing a temp job as an administrative assistant right now, covering for someone who's on maternity leave. And I thought that this week was going to be my last week until we got an email this morning that she's extending her leave till the end of March. Which on the one hand is like, okay, more work, more money, I guess that's better. But on the other hand, I was only mentally prepared to be doing this shit for another 5 days. Yeah. So I have been in a real bad mood all day today.
I cannot blame you.
Hi, I'm Timel. Hi, I'm Timel, or Chowder, whichever you prefer. My vibe is stressed out, I guess, because,
cool.
School... balancing school and stuff, and like, just had a doctor's appointment earlier, and it's like, hey doc, has my heart rate and blood pressure gone down from last time? A little bit, still high. Okay, well, keep working on that.
Yeah, it's man, it's just the grind at this point, isn't it? Just across the board. But I think, and now that I've actually done a vacation, because again, not kidding, never done a vacation. I've taken time off to do stuff. I've gone on like day trips. Even as a child, I've never gone anywhere. So I have discovered that when I'm stressed, or as I was this past month, worried about news from a doctor, everything turned out fine. Just got the clear yesterday. Turns out not doing anything for a little bit is actually kind of nice. So I'm going to like work extra hard to put that back on my rotation because
I try to do that most of the time. Not do anything.
It was lovely, but yeah, I'm creeping back into stress territory because as I will reveal over the course of this discussion, got some stuff on my plate too. We're all kind of on the same page, more or less. As Jeff told me before, this Minecraft books now have 100 pages in them. So
That might have been from a while ago. That might not be new.
Well, that's why it's not in the news section and it's in the
bookshelves are
cold
what's
open. But
True.
that wasn't even really good. I was trying to, as I was saying it and building the track for a joke for my train as it went, it has flown off the track that I failed to lay for both the joke and this metaphor. So I'm going to let that train fall into a canyon while we fly into the news itself. I'm going to be very brief because I only have two things. Count them two if my Discord will stop censoring my fucking peace sign. I have two things that I want to...
It's a gang symbol, Colin. You can't...
Oh, no! Well, I mean, in the UK, doesn't this mean, like, up your ass or something? Like, or am I just learning that from Hot Fuzz and learning the wrong thing? I'm going to assume I'm wrong. So the two things that I want to talk about for February 2023, I was in Mexico staring at the beach thinking, God, I don't need to do anything else right now. And then a bleep on my phone says, Nintendo Direct. Nintendo announces Metroid Prime Remastered releasing today. And I said, Rebecca, I'm buying my plane ticket home right now because I don't have the Nintendo Switch with me. Metroid Prime is, I believe, rightfully considered one of the best games of all time. It is one of my favorite games of all time. It was one of those things where I was a very young child visiting my relatives that had a GameCube and playing this game that I was not cognitively able to fully function with, but absolutely taken by how moody and interesting it was and how rewarding getting power-ups was. And just over its iterations on the Wii/Wii U port, I've run it on emulators. Like, any chance I could get my hand on, like, a new version of this game, I did. And now it's finally in HD, finally has twin-stick controls. It is every bit the example of, like, this is the game how you remember it, not how it actually was. Because this is one of those games where it was a total ground-up visual remake of every visual asset in the game. They somehow got the Retro Studios is the studio that developed this back in 2002, and they developed the sequels, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes and 3 Corruption, and they're working on Metroid Prime 4. The reason it's so long in the tooth in development is another studio is working on Metroid Prime 4, and Nintendo said, this sucks, start over, get the old studio back. And they've been working on it ever since. So what we think is going on is that their engine for Metroid Prime 4, they got a lot of the code for the original Metroid Prime and are running it inside the engine for what their next Metroid game is going to be. And the results are, they're beautiful. They're about as beautiful as you can be on a Nintendo Switch. It's similar to Breath of the Wild, where it's like, how does this look so good and everything else on this console does not look this good? It looks crisp in 1080p and 780p. It handles great. It has all the wonderful things and awful things of games that came out 20 years ago. But basically, this is a piece of gaming history, and if you enjoy games, I think it is something worth playing. It was $40. I was hoping it wouldn't be the full 60, and it wasn't. But this is at once a celebration of an all-time classic and kind of tipping the hat as to what might be coming next. We are suspecting we will get remasters of Metroid Prime 2 and 3 leading up to the release of 4. There are rumors suggesting that 2 and 3 might not have full visual asset remakes, like they might just be like up-resed and slapped in a new engine, but it'll be the same assets from like 2004, 2007, which would be a bit of a bummer to me.
Yeah.
Just because this is so
just
good.
Seems like a bad PR move. If you're gonna do the first one, that is like, and now we're gonna do what you want for the other ones, but not as good.
And I've seen some of this before. Halo did its 10th anniversary remasters of Halo 1 in 2011 and Halo 2 in 2014. But in 2017, the 10-year anniversary for Halo 3, they did not touch it. It has also been 10 years since Halo 4. Has not been touched. These games run in 4K. They run at high frame rates, but it's just still the original designs. So... And they look good. It turns out that running old shitty stuff in higher resolution can look good. When you're talking about old 2D stuff on like the SNES or the Genesis, things look better with the fuzziness of a CRT than they do with the crispness of an LCD or an OLED panel. But with these games, it works, but I'm wondering if this is just something where they want to get these games out before Metroid Prime 4, but they won't have the time to redo everything by hand, because turns out redoing all the visuals for games that are pretty big takes a lot of time. But it's just an interesting thing. It was a surprise, similar to Hi-Fi Rush last month. It was the second instance of a big gaming company saying, hey, we're going to do this right now. Have fun. So far, reviews of it have been, hey, it's still one of the best games. Cool. I am just particularly
surprised.
Yeah, surprise. Turns out if you remake something great, it's probably great. And I'm having a blast with it. I'm almost at the end of my playthrough. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it looks interesting to me, but if you don't have these games, or back from the GameCube days, you didn't lose your copy, it's definitely worth it. I have a copy of the Metroid Prime trilogy for the Wii, where it's all 3 games on there, and it's got the motion controls. So I'm I think I'm good here, because
if you don't have a particular
again, right?
if you don't have a particular affinity for it, it's probably not worth getting. I still have a Wii U, and yes, I was one of the 5 people that bought a Wii U and a Metroid Prime trilogy around here somewhere. The interesting thing is that on the Switch, you have the dual stick controls, the most modern shooters. Look with one stick, move with the other, but you can do the Wii motion controls with the Joy-Cons, or you can do what I am doing, and is actually a hybrid where I have the controls, but I can still adjust my aim with motion. I've been doing that on the PS5 as well, and as much as I love the Xbox, and I think Xbox has the best controllers in most instances, I'm really getting attached to double stick control games where you can fine tune your aim with motion controls. Feels great. That's a tangent, but I don't know. They handled it very well, and I'm very excited about it. And I'm hoping that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 get this treatment, because I think 2 is the best of the trilogy. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I would love to see it in the same fidelity as this. The only other thing that I want to mention, and this is kind of cheating, well, not really, because this is coming out after February, but there's one day left in February as of this recording, and that one day for me is going to be subsumed by a little ditty called Lightfall, which is actually part of a bigger ditty called Destiny 2. It's getting its latest expansion. I'm not going to get in the weeds with it, because we know an absurd amount about what's coming, and this is a game that has been growing and getting more complicated and more impenetrable to new users for a very long time. And I think the only reason I want to mention this, on top, it's a new expansion. The last expansion, it was great. The campaign was super fun. Everyone was like, oh, this is awesome. And then, people fell off over the course of the year, and you come back for the expansion. That's not news. What is actually something that people may find useful is, while they have not put the muscle behind creating a cohesive introductory campaign to get you into it, they're at least building a reward structure in to teach new people what the fuck to do. Because if you start a new game in Destiny 2 right now, if I'm like, hey, it's free to play, you should come try this with me because it's my whole life and identity. If I say that to you and you're like, fine, whatever, if it'll shut him up, then you launch in, you get 3 missions of ooh, this is interesting. This guy's kind of annoying, but it's interesting. And then when you beat that little story mission, it's okay, here's a bazillion activities with no descriptions or tutorials. Good luck. You better fucking hope you have someone that is willing to explain the whole game to you. That's what it is right now, and it's bad. It is really bad to try to hook someone into it. If someone stumbles into it naturally, they could find the magic, but it is very hard to convince somebody to get into it, because that initial hump is large. So I think something I'm excited about is I'm going to be doing some work on it, but I am looking forward to seeing if this might actually make the game a little more friendly to new players, because I'm really excited about the content, but it's just behind a high wall right now. And I think this is newsworthy because of all the live service games out there in the world that aren't World of Warcraft, this is one of the few that has built its own empire. And and World of Warcraft has the same problem of they have to jump through so many hoops to try to build a package that people want to get into cold. And I'm excited to see if this manages to do it. But it's a big release in the gaming space anyways, and it is the only thing I'm really doing tomorrow, so now you have to hear about it too. But those are honestly the only two things in February that seriously caught my attention. Both game releases, Destiny 2 Lightfall, Metroid Prime Remastered, and neither of them are even new. One's a remaster, one's an expansion.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. Last February was insane. We got Witch Queen, Elden Ring, Dying Light, Horizon, a bunch of massive games all in the same month last February, and I thought this was going to be the same. What Atomic Heart came out, but like it's getting mixed reviews, and Ukraine is trying to get it delisted because it glorifies Soviet culture and has ties to Russian.
Also the devs definitely are in support of the Russian war. So
I don't even know about that. I mean, have you seen anything concrete on that? Because I'd be curious to know.
I have, although I don't really have the articles on.
I'll try to pull it up then. Because I know that there are. I mean, I played the first hour of it, and it feels
they are a Russian-based company, right?
Yeah, the studio. I'll look up the details, but the studio that developed Atomic Heart, it's basically BioShock but Soviet, and I mean.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It was an interesting first hour of the game. I'll give it that. It was on Game Pass, so I was just like, let's see what this is about. Dude. I wasn't really hooked by it, but I'm going to check out. I'm going to see what that is because I've seen the allegations and I haven't read into it, but that's the only like new game thing that caught my attention. I guess there is actually another video game that came out this past month that I think, Jeff, you may have had a thing or two to say about that, if I can kick it over to you.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna, well, we're gonna belay that for a sec because I do want to make a quick mention of something else first, which is not going to be nearly as not going to have nearly as much conversation legs, but I did want to talk about it. That Lego has announced this new Lord of the Rings Rivendell set.
Oh, I saw that picture.
Super beautiful.
It looks gorgeous.
It looks like a high-end like mock is what it looks like. Yeah, because like anyway,
what does mock really stand for again? I know what it means. I don't remember what it stands for.
My own creation.
Gotcha.
I believe is what it stands for.
That makes sense.
It just looks really pretty. I mean, it's not really a whole lot to say about it. There's no real news here. It's just that it was announced and it looks really good. It's like $400 though, so I'm not gonna buy it. But
I have a friend of mine who works 2 work-from-home jobs at the same time for very little effort and has no children. So he's fucking loaded right now and buys a ton of absolutely insane Lego kits. I'm gonna push him into buying that so I can go check it out. I'm gonna I will manipulate my friends for our group edification.
It's just real pretty, and there's not really a lot to say about it, but it looks good. But the actual story that I wanted to talk about this month that Colin was segueing into is I want to talk a little bit about fucking Hogwarts Legacy coming out and all of the nonsense that's been surrounding that, because honestly, like, the game itself is selling super duper well.
Yeah, let me look at those numbers.
And yeah, there's like, I've got you freeze framed on a pose right now doing. It's really funny. But
I mean, that's my feeling exactly.
Within 2 weeks after its launch, it sold more than 12 million copies for a $70 game that's not on all platforms yet.
It's supposed to be the biggest game this year, right? Isn't that the projection?
Or
is it already?
That's big. That's almost Elden Ring big. Maybe more than Elden Ring big.
So there's that aspect of it, but there's also been just like a lot of messiness with
with Harry Potter?
People wanting to because if you're somehow unaware, J.K. Rowling is a huge transphobe, and over the past several years, it's just like it's just like every time you hear anything about J.K. Rowling, it's just like, oh wow, that's even worse than last time. And because of this, a lot of people have understandably turned to kind of boycotting Harry Potter related media, And in terms of this game, that caused kind of a big thing, because obviously, like, the boycotting didn't really dent anything in terms of the game's sales, as we mentioned. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I mean,
sold a
boycotting
ton,
never
but
works.
yeah, and it's been kind of a whole thing because like the relevance, I think, in this space has been mostly in the streaming world, where like, you know, content creators are, you know, wanting to stream the biggest game of the year or whatever, and then like a lot of their fan base are saying that, like, oh, if you buy that game, you're transphobic or it's unethical to buy it. And regardless of like where you land on that, you know, argument, it's just been causing a lot of back and forth between, you know, like some people are pointing out like, well, you know, basically making the argument of like, well, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism, right? Like,
correct.
You know, you buy Apple products, right? And like, you know, I'm sure you could fucking pin down like Apple for having like unethical like working conditions, and companies are, you know, in like other countries and stuff like that. Or, you know, that's just like a fucking example that like someone brought up. I don't know the validity of that specifically, but
it definitely has been a problem in the past. There are still things creep up every once in a while, but with Hogwarts in particular, it becomes interesting on a couple levels to me, because obviously the pontifications and the positions of J.K. Rowling complicate this, because any financial success for Harry Potter contributes to her own financial success. And the purpose of a boycott is I don't want to support this person.
Yeah, and you know, she has boasted that she uses the money to fund anti-trans legislation. So
there's
a clear line.
That's one side of the argument, right? But then also, you know, people are also pointing out that like, well, at this point, right, like J.K. Rowling basically has like an endless supply of money.
Yeah.
And there's been some messy stuff with this game specifically, because there were a number of streamers that wanted to play the game and used their platform, like their streams, to basically like raise money for like trans protective charities, but people were still like, you know, boycotting them, you know, the streamers as well. And it's just I don't even know where I land on it, but it's like there's been this whole back and forth argument with, you know, like people, you know, doing streaming is like, well, at what point, like I think I tend to land on the side of, if that's a reason for you to boycott the game, I totally respect that. But I think that it gets a little bit fishy when you start telling other people to like boycott it, especially if it's like, you know, if it's kind of the principle of boycotting it, of like, in theory, not giving money to J.K. Rowling, who, you know, you're not really going to dent it. And then if that takes away from someone who's raising money for like trans people, like,
it's
isn't
so
that
fucking
practically worse?
and where it gets more interesting.
I mean,
go ahead, Chatter. Yeah.
I mean, like, honestly, I kind of get it. I
get it too.
I do get it. It's just people saying, "Hey, man, we need you to do the bare fucking minimum. This game that is a luxury that you don't need to get, and you can probably get something else that is cheaper and more fun.
Metroid Prime
Don't
Remaster.
get this game." It's
but Chatter.
I get that.
But the thing is, when you're looking at this,
it's
the layer,
bare minimum.
It's not the bare minimum though, because
like,
there are practical impacts that people are trying to have that they are not having. Any other alternative consumption you point to has issues. The thing is that these issues are particularly visible and are very hot button because they continue to be discussed, and this person continues to be a public trash bag. And when you look at the game itself, like, I do want to get this out real quick. The game itself has good queer representation. Has trans representation. Is from a studio that is known for doing these things. Let me get through this. Has from a studio that wants to go through these things. Okay. Let me get through this first, Shatter. You have a studio that is putting these characters out, putting these things in the game because that is their vision and what they want to put in the game. That does not correct what J.K. Rowling is doing. But it continues to muddy the waters because you have a company and you have developers that are working on a licensed property, and you want to say, like, hey, what about their jobs? Is it okay to patronize them? Maybe yes, but the J.K. Rowling thing, maybe no. But then you get into the fact that they're also leading a rebellion to oppressed goblins in the game, so the ethics of the game itself get even murkier because it's projecting different ideas on a whole different axis. So while there is a straight line to this one awful person at the top, Jeff is right. There is no ethical consumption in capitalism, and to make a principled stand on this is fine. But it is such a broad thing that to require other people to take your principled stand lacks efficacy. And so I tend to take the position of, I'm not going to play the game anyway because I hate Harry Potter, and I have no want to wade into those particular waters. But you've got something where everybody can make their principled stand, and that's fine. We need to encourage that and have those conversations. But this is not like a protest vote for Hillary Clinton to Jill Stein and then, oopsie, we fucked the Electoral College. This is not having that direct result that would substantiate a financial change and decision for a lot of people, and that is their decision to make. That's the best I got on it.
Yeah. And, like, I don't know, where I also land on it, too.
The way I feel, it's just like you have all these people who are... you have all these people who are like, no, well, no ethical consumption under capitalism. This excuse, that excuse. Don't worry, I might be buying the game, and it's just like, dude, stop trying to act like there's some nobility to this.
I don't think there's nobility.
Just push.
But I think that cuts both ways.
But because like
shitting around and just say you want to play the game.
Yes,
because you don't care, man.
You can't make it.
It's not even necessarily. Yeah, because like my point really is that like whichever way you land on it, there is a gray area. So having someone land the other way doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong about it. Because like if you take like the practical, it was like you brought up the point, Chatter, of like, oh, well, you could just play another game, right? But if you're looking specifically at people who are like doing streaming and like using it to raise money for charities, they're not going to get as much money from playing another game as they would playing the biggest game of the year. So they can make a significant impact on like, trans charities and stuff like that. So it's like if like the boycotting, as we've talked about, doesn't really functionally do anything, right? So it's just like it's just a principle thing. Whereas if people choose to play the game, like, and people with large audiences, and then use that large audience to drum up a bunch of money and support for things like the Trevor Project and stuff like that, that has a practical impact. So it's like, I get one way or the other. Just like, I think you could very easily land on either side of this. But my point generally is that it has both sides to the argument. So someone landing on the other side of the argument doesn't necessarily mean like that they just don't care about trans people, or that they, it's just like, I can see both schools of thought. And so it tends to be this muddy thing where, like it's just like people getting really mad about it on Twitter and being mobilized in that way, which sometimes is for great causes and sometimes is misguided. And
I don't even think it's misguided in this case. Again, I agree with the principle, and I think everybody making a principled stand is there's nothing wrong with it. I support it. I think it's good, and we need to continue having conversations about trying to sort out the thorniness of navigating this issue. Because as a lot of creators will lament, once you put something out into the public, it's kind of not yours anymore. It takes on a life of its own with the community. And unfortunately, this one person at the top of the chain keeps fucking poisoning that water. And I don't begrudge anyone getting pissed about this game, getting pissed about its success, or about people streaming it even to raise charity for it, because it does smack of hypocrisy. But at least for me, what kind of makes this all just a bit of a gray area compared to other instances is the fact that nothing is having a practical impact on this one person. The Onion has put out so
Right.
many incredible fucking articles about JK this past month. So many massive boycotts have been led for the Fantastic Beasts movies, for releases of Harry Potter, for the games, and it's just it's not stopping her from sucking butt. We can't change her
the
sucking
Fantastic
butt.
Beasts movies kind of
I
kind of
hear they're
boycotted
bad at,
themselves,
I hear
right?
they're
Just
bad
by
in their
being
own
bad.
way, just by being shitty.
Yeah.
But like I mean, to say a person trying to use this and putting the funds towards trans rights activism, like in that specific example, I don't know how you can look at that and say this person doesn't care to do the bare minimum. They're doing more than I'm fucking doing. I'm putting pennies from my D&D podcast toward these charities. I'm not going to get anywhere near what they're getting. And it's just, it is, I thought it was going to dominate the news cycle more, but it did kind of just turn into,
it bubbled
this,
up for like
this
a week and
conversation.
then-
Like the entire conversation is just kind of annoying, and I just
Yes.
was like, I don't fucking care. Or,
Ultimately,
that is-
yes.
it's like it's like the people who like try to defend their purchase of Hogwarts Legacy, it's just like annoys me because they're working so hard to justify this
I see
and
that.
like trying to make
Yeah.
trying to make themselves look like not hypocrites, but it's like, and I don't know, it's the kind of annoyance you get when like someone is just bullshitting you right in front of your face and you know it.
That I
Yeah,
can
I guess-
absolutely see. That I'm same wavelength with you on that. Like, own up to the complexity of it. Own up to the fact that there's a really gross side to this thing. Or just don't fucking say anything and shut up and go play a video game. I have definitely done stuff with that, like that with my
Yeah.
own content purchases.
Yeah.
It is the performativeness of individuals that aren't doing these things
Yeah.
Jeff has described that really does make me say, like, why are you bothering? What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of where I'm at with that. No, summed it up well.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I kind of get it to an extent, though, with some of the content creators, because it's like, well, if you're not addressing it in some way, right, and you're doing, and like, I mean, you're like, yes, I guess you
I
could
think
just not
content
buy the
creation
game, right?
is a different dynamic for sure,
Yeah.
because and a lot of times, anytime that I see just casually, because I don't watch a lot of streams, I don't watch a lot of gaming content. I haven't watched. I've been working with someone who's been doing Hogwarts stuff, and I've like purposefully stayed as far away from that as I can, just to like, because I personally I don't want to support it. That just to like peek behind the curtain. That's my position. On top of not wanting Harry Potter, so I have no compulsion to play the game. I'm also like, I'm pretty okay saying fuck this because of this connection. That's me. But like, but I think once you're in a content creating space, Jeff, you're right. You have these other rules. It's the biggest game. It is the wave of capitalism, and it's like you have to balance the fucking needs of your business. And a lot of times people will come out and either do proactive stuff like you've said or make their disclaimers. And it's just, I don't even know how to navigate that, man. I hate making Twitter posts for podcasts that I make. I can't fucking imagine trying to figure out how to PR that shit. Ugh.
Yeah, I guess my stance on it is just like, I agree, I wouldn't buy it myself, but it's sort of like, you know,
You also
it's one of
you're
those
not a-
things
you're
where
not
it's
a big
just like,
gamer.
I feel like I'm not a gamer, so I don't have much pressure to, but
Yeah.
like, but it's one of those things where it's just like, I feel like there is a right or a wrong answer, like when you get down to it, but I don't necessarily think that people making the quote unquote wrong answer are inherently transphobic or, you know, like don't care or anything like that. It's like, that's where I land on it, where it's just like, I think it's like, I think, you know, with the way that like the meat packing industry is in the world, right, I think probably being a vegetarian is the better ethical choice, but I'm not a vegetarian. You know what I mean?
Well,
and I don't think that people who aren't vegetarians are bad people, even though there is a right and a wrong answer here in my mind.
I think that you can be. There are ways that being a vegetarian can make you more ethical, but it also can make you much more of an insufferable person to be around socially, and that's just unethical.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
with
know that
meat,
many
there's,
insufferable
I don't either.
vegetarians.
but like, you know, the thing about meat is it's food. people need the nutrients that are in meat. So,
Yes,
and like
yeah, that's
with
true.
the price of, with the cost of meat compared to the cost of their vegetarian alternatives, some meat is what people can afford versus
So, Chowder,
Hogwarts
did you not buy
Legacy, which
any
is
Activision games after the whole like Activision Blizzard debacle?
That was something I
Anything like
wanted to
that?
bring up. Is like, yeah, the Activision, because I still haven't uninstalled Tony Hawk.
That's just my point. Is that like I think that there are, you can write your own, you can draw your own lines in the sand about like where what you want to support and what you don't want to support and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, almost everything that is out there is unethical to purchase, in one way or another, and you can't just not do anything or enjoy your life in any
Jeff, that's
way.
actually
So it's like,
that's a really smart line to draw too, because I do have friends in my gaming circles that are like, fuck Hogwarts Legacy, I can't wait for Diablo 4. And I'm like, I'm probably not going to get either of them, so I get to steer clear of that for the most part, just by sheer luck of my interests. But like, yeah, the conversation around this feels different, because with the Activision stuff, which we talked about at length, and what happened at Activision Blizzard in particular was pretty grotesque,
real bad,
and directly impacted the game itself, the product you are buying, not just the person at the top of the food chain. It was a much more direct connection, but the conversation about that became so much more about like the what the studio response was, and most other talk about how to handle those purchases has subsided. Probably because most of that conversation has also been dominated by the fact that Microsoft is trying to buy them, and that's, its own thing. So Chowder's look on Chowder's face is exactly how I feel about this conversation too.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, right? Because it's like anything that exists out there in the world is just like it's like always tied up to these things that just like make it feel unethical. And I'm not fucking out here being like, oh, I'm desperately defending my own right to play Hogwarts Legacy. Like I said, I'm not buying it, and I have no interest in buying it. I just think that, when the internet starts getting a little bit like ragey about specific things and ignoring other things that have like equal impact, is like that's where the hypocrisy starts to go both ways, right? As like, it's like you got to pick and choose. There's always going to be things you're picking and choosing with. And it doesn't, I don't think necessarily make people terrible. But the other thing about this is a brief mention, but like, so there's a trans character in the game, and there's been a lot of people like making the claim that, so the character's name is Sirona Ryan and is a trans woman, and or girl. I don't know the age of the person. Might not be a woman, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of people who have been saying that the name Sirona Ryan could be abbreviated to Sir Ryan, to like male things, so it's like a bad representation of a trans woman. It's just like, okay, all right, we're getting in the weeds here, especially since it's like J.K. Rowling had nothing to do with the creation of that character. But it's just like, I don't know. I think it's a weird sounding name, and like if you make that argument, I think it's kind of funny. But
I think I may have solved all our problems, not just Hogwarts Legacy and the fucked up politics around it, but generally economic issues in the U.S., which is when someone is making a lot of money off stuff that sucks, we don't let them make any more money. Then people can enjoy their stupid wizards, and then everyone else can have money. This is my pitch for socialism.
If only.
It would be so fucking nice if we could just prune her from the top of the tree. But I think that I would, with the very limited information I just received, I would posit that SR as like a microaggression baked into the design of the game is very Texas sharpshooter fallacy. I'm going to circle the data points that make me mad. That seems like a bit of a stretch from the studio.
The Harry Potter series consistently does this, okay? Like the black guy named Shacklebolt is not exactly
whoa.
Or the Asian woman named Cho Chang.
Cho
It's like-
Chang. Yeah.
You guys are really
like the Harry Potter.
You guys are
but
really,
those
really
ones
selling me
did
on not
come from
enjoying
J.K.
this.
Rowling.
Yes, yeah.
Those ones did come from J.K. Rowling, and Serona Ryan did not. Is the
Yeah.
point.
Given if J.K.
Look,
Rowling
I'm
wrote
just
that
saying, there's a
character,
common denominator.
you're right. No, I can't argue with
Yeah.
that. I have a little bit of faith in Avalanche as a developer. Given their pedigree as a developer, I have some trust in them and their commitments to consideration and representation, to the point where I wouldn't say that is nearly as bad as Shacklebolt the Black Man. Are you kidding me? I haven't seen all the movies and I haven't read any of the books. Are you fucking kidding me? That's in there?
No, that's
No,
the
I'm
real
not
character.
joking
Yeah,
on
it's a
that.
real character.
Why? Was there ever any?
Also, just like
Are you serious?
also the
Okay.
whole thing about like the goblins basically being Jewish stereotypes.
That is the
Really
that is the
is
narrative
correct,
thing
yeah.
with this game that is not
It's
getting the coverage I think it
undeniably Jewish.
needs. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
this is. And I mean, like, I'm a Star Trek fan. I know the Ferengi are a fucked up Julio stereotype at the beginning, and it took them a decade to rehabilitate that image and get away from that shit. But like, Hogwarts Legacy, people are talking about the issues related to J.K. Rowling, but isn't this story about, the Jewish analog is trying to rise up against their oppression, and you're the person trying to stamp them down?
Isn't
Isn't that what the game is about?
Yeah, that's what the plot of the game is. Like
Holy shit! When you
That's
said
the
it was about
problem.
the Goblin uprising, I assumed you meant we were sympathizing with them, not against them.
No, you're putting down the Goblin Rebellion. That is where Avalanche loses the
fuck
cred.
oh
Christ.
Like Harry you may not know, but the Harry Potter series has like these race of little house elves that are
That's
slaves,
Dobby, right?
and they're happy
Slave,
with
yeah.
being slaves. Yeah.
Oh, they're happy
Yeah.
with it?
Dobby,
Oh,
exactly.
that's so considerate of them to enjoy their oppression. Oh no, I lost you both for a second. Ah! Did I lose internet altogether, or is it just... Uh-oh. Well, I'm just gonna hang tight until, This is the face of a man that loves to point out ridiculous Harry Potter facts that I did not know. And this is the face of a man that kind of looks like he's asleep and also pointing out Harry Potter facts that I did not know. This call is frozen. I'm going to try this again. Boop, 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 boop. Can I get back in the channel? Let's see. Boop.
What?
Am I back?
Hold
Did we
on,
get
hold
it?
on.
Hey,
Yeah,
okay.
well,
Okay,
you never
you're
left
back.
for
Oh,
us,
you're
but
Yeah, I'm
Colin,
back. Yes.
Hey, Colin, did you
Yes.
know that it's canon that wizards shit in the hallway?
Oh, don't they just magic the poop away or something?
Yeah.
I don't see that as really an ethical issue from a creative standpoint.
Oh no.
But it
it's
is a
not
fucking
an
gross one.
ethical issue. It's not an
Did you,
ethical issue. It's just fucking stupid. I just want you to. I just
didn't.
don't want people
So,
to forget this.
I actually do
Did
did
have
your
to.
recording get interrupted, Colin?
No, recording's fine. Right? Actually, wait. Let me check. Yes, recording's fine. I do have to actually say this though. I've seen the first 4 Harry Potter movies because I was convinced to watch the first one, and I was like, that wasn't good. And they were like, oh, the second one where it's get good. So I watched the second one. I'm like, that was not good either. And they're like, no, the third one where it's get good. And I'm like, okay. I watched the third one. I'm like,
I like those movies.
and then I watched the third one. I was
Alright.
like, that was better, but not great. And I saw the fourth one. I'm like, this one's worse. So you're not going to string me along these anymore.
Yeah.
But my partner, I tried to get her to start Last of Us. She got too scared and stopped it. And if you look at the length of Last of Us and the length of the remaining Harry Potter movies, I have signed myself up for a bargain that is exchanging her watching
no.
The Last of Us, and I now have to watch the last 4 Harry Potter movies if she follows through. So I soon might understand all these horrible things you're talking about, and guys, I fucking wish I could boycott this one. I really do, because it sucks.
I started watching The Last of Us.
I enjoy it quite a bit.
It was good.
Very good
Yeah.
show. Much
Anyway,
better queer
that's fucking-
representation.
Yeah.
Significantly better.
That's I think that's enough breaths fucking spent on Harry Potter. Let's move on. That's all I've got this time around.
Honestly, it's too much breaths on
right.
Harry Potter. Yeah.
All right, Chatter. I know that you are very excited to spend your breaths on something else very specific, and I know nothing. So hit me. What you got?
All right. First thing I wanted to talk about is we finally have a release for Advance Wars 1+2. Like
people are stoked about
so,
that.
you know, yeah, about a year ago, like Nintendo was like, "Hey guys, we're doing like a little remake of Advance Wars, both the first one and the second one. We're calling it Reboot Camp." Get it?
That's cute.
And everyone's like, yeah, and everyone's like, "Oh hell yeah, I love Advance Wars." And let me tell you, Advance Wars are fucking amazing games.
Were those Game Boy Color or Game Boy Advance?
Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance. Okay.
Which checks out Advance Wars.
Huh.
Anyway,
Classic.
Game Boy Advance, Advance Wars. Anyways, so like, you know, they're very easy to get into, but like have a lot of interesting complexity. You know, you're just like having a little army men like move on a map. It's turn-based. It's very fun, and you know, everyone's like, "Heck yeah, I want more Advance Wars in my life. It's been too long." And then like, then Russia invaded the Ukraine, and you know, a game about war where you're like doing things like sending out bombers to bomb cities, and tanks are rolling across the countryside. And everyone going, "Yeah, war! Isn't this fun?" Might be a little awkward.
Fortnite ran into the same thing.
Great optics.
Fortnite was rolling out their third chapter, which was all about mobilization and war, February of 2022, and they stopped their marketing on a fucking dime, and we're just like, "We are going to donate so much of our fucking money to Ukraine. You have no idea."
Yeah, and Nintendo was like, okay, so about that, we're gonna just delay the release of this game for a bit. We'll let you know what in a little bit.
I like the brazenness of that because there's no attempt to adjust the material, which it's a remake, but like, or anything about the messaging, but just say, we're gonna wait till people aren't thinking about this issue as much. Because the war's still happening, and the game is the same game.
Like Advance Wars, it's a very tongue-in-cheek series where it's like, you know, it's got like the kind of vibe of like a little kid playing with a bunch of plastic army men, you know? So, so you know, you're never really supposed to think too much on the horrors of war with this game. Don't think too hard, but
sounds like an Avatar movie. Don't think too hard and you'll have fun.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like this game has like hilarious moments where like, you know, one like general is like goes to the other, "Hey, you want to have like a battle just for the fun of it?" "Yeah, sure." And then you like send bombers and like soldiers with guns at each other. It's
in the fiction of Advance Wars, are you robbing living beings of their souls and agency by murdering them, or is it just like, "Oh, you blew up the toy, put him back in the box"?
By all accounts, yeah, no, you are robbing people of their souls, but
How is
don't
that
think too
just
hard
for
on that,
fun?
you know. And
right.
yeah, so Nintendo was like, we'll bring it up later. And you know, cut to a year later, and everyone's like, "Man, whatever happened to Advance 1+2 Reboot Camp?" And Nintendo, and so in their February 8th, 2023 direct, Nintendo was like, "Hey, Advance Wars, we have a release date, April 12th," and everyone's like, "Hell yeah!" And you know, interestingly, they haven't showed any gameplay footage. And I'm like wondering, have they taken? Well, okay. To clarify, they showed gameplay footage the first time they announced it, but like in this like second announcement, they didn't show any gameplay footage, and I'm wondering, did they take the time to like posh it even further? Because like one complaint people had when they first saw it was like, man, these graphics look a lot less appealing than the original GBA games, and so I wonder if like they took the time to further,
or if maybe this was like a Top
'cause...
Gun Maverick thing where the movie was done and they just kept it on the shelf until it was market appropriate to release.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I'm kind of hoping the former, because like, any polish Advance Wars can get, I would think is nice, but who knows? Either way, Advance Wars, I love that game. I'm totally getting it when I get the chance.
Is it gonna? It's gonna be on Switch, right?
Yes.
Cool.
All right. Next thing I want to talk about. Today, when we were before we recorded this, like Pokemon had a direct, and it's overall pretty bland. Not a whole lot to talk about. One thing that did interest me is that they announced like a show for Netflix, and like it is like a stop motion animation thing about like a guy and his Psyduck who like are concierges at a hotel, and like they like have Pokemon as guests, and I'm like, that sounds cute.
That does sound cute.
I want that.
Is that by the same studio that does that fucking Gudetama show? Because from the little clip of it, it reminded me a lot of that.
They did say what studio was working on it. I can't remember, and I'd have to like
look it up.
When you say a hotel for Pokemon as the guests, my brain conjures like, how most storage centers are just server racks with like tiny PCs slotted as blades into racks. I'm imagining the same thing, but it's just racks of Pokeballs. It's just one regular size room with like hundreds of Pokeballs, and that's where the Pokemon stay in the hotel, like a Pokemon server.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's pretty much canon that the inside of Pokeball is like its own little, very cushy little ecosystem. Yeah. So like, I suppose a Pokemon hotel like that could work, but I imagine for the sake of this show, this is like a more conventional hotel,
Bastards. I want to see if the room service shrinks when it goes in the ball.
Dwarf Studios. It's made by Dwarf Studios. And I want to see what else.
Dwarf Studios.
I don't recognize that name offhand. I mean,
it's a studio. I'm pretty sure.
It's a quiet time for Pokemon, right? Because we just got Scarlet and Violet a few months ago.
Yeah.
We got Arceus about a year ago. Like, was there any game news, like updates, quality of life fixes, expansions?
Let's see.
Yeah, they're doing
like. They announced like 2 DLC expansions for the game. The first one is coming out in fall
for
of
Scarlet
this year.
Violet?
The next one, Scarlet and Violet, yes. First one is coming out fall of this year, and the next one is coming out winter of this year. And they didn't really specify any specifics on when they're being released. So there is that. They looks fine. The Pokemon they've shown are pretty cool. There's a lot of like interesting lore stuff in Scarlet and Violet that like I hope these 2 expansions will play off of, because like, come on, why would you set it up if you don't do anything with it? But like,
what are we?
I'm way less excited
about the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Come on.
I'm way less excited about the ones that they revealed than the teases for them, though, in the actual games. I thought were cooler, but
yeah. I mean, they also announced like these new Pokemon that you can actually get right now, which is like by going on these like online raid battles. So if you want Suicune, but it's a dinosaur, it's all yours, baby.
That one's cool. Just the fucking Virizion robot is so boring.
Yeah, no, the Virizion robot is so bland because it looks just like Virizion, but it's a robot, and it's like, come on, put some spice on that shit. Give it a rocket on its back. Put some skates on it. Let it do some go-go Inspector Gadget bullshit. I don't know. Just something.
Is that your catch-all? This is boring. Put some skates on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love that.
It's just like the fucking in the games, right? They tease these, like these two legendaries. One of them that was like a combination of the three legendary beasts, and another one that was a combination of the Swords of Justice. But then that's just not what they are. It's not a mix between Suicune, fucking Entei and Raikou. It's just a dinosaur Suicune, and it's not a mix between Terrakion, Virizion, and Cobalion. It's just a robot Virizion. It's just not as interesting. I feel like as what they teased for it. But even if dinosaur Suicune is cool.
Yeah, it's just like the concept was cooler than what you gave us, my friend.
I do have a question about the games, because I have not paid attention to the life cycle of Scarlet and Violet since its release. Have there been any updates addressing the performance issues and the frame drops and the general lagginess of the game itself?
There've been some like subtle like updates, but like for the most part, they haven't really addressed the issues. No. Like there's no
I never
big
had lagging issues.
I've had plenty of lagging issues. Although I don't know if they've dealt with the memory leak yet or not, but so no, there's no big. I'm sure like some of these updates like gave us like small improvements, but like there's no big overhaul that like,
it's not like with Cyberpunk, where they were like, our game is so broken, we're pausing DLC until we fix this shit. Yeah, like, that's not what's happening.
They did patch. The one thing they did patch the none of the Pokemon having sleeping animations thing, right? That got fixed.
That got fixed, and like you know what, it does make the game more immersive when like Pokemon. When you put a Pokemon
close their eyes when they go to sleep,
they close their eyes,
instead of being like, "Good night, Papa."
Well, it's really funny to me because Pokemon has always had this like weird thing going on with like both in the animation and in the games, where like a lot of Pokemon have like fake eyes, where like when they close their eyes, their pupils close, but their eyes still remain open.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, it's like you don't really question it when you see it in like animation. If like, it's like, like a happy Onyx with its eyes closed, its eyes will still be open, but then it's got the two little like rainbows for like the eyes being closed or whatever. And you don't really question it unless you like really think about it, and you're like, wait a minute, does every Pokemon just have fucking like two sets of eyes, real big eyes, and then the tiny real eyes that are their pupils?
Yeah, and it's weird because like all the Pokemon have had sleeping animations. They just didn't go off in battle. So it's like, Game Freak, why didn't you do that? And then they didn't. And it's like, okay, fair enough.
That does sound very Nintendo to me. Of let's fix the higher concept immersion problems over the technical problems. I don't know why that strikes me as very Nintendo, but Nintendo.
That one's easy to fix.
Moving 3 frames a second.
Yeah, I mean, as engineering problems with the game are probably much harder to solve, but I think Nintendo's Disney-esque reputation of like, your fucking immersion is our guarantee, or else, like that attitude is kind of what sticks in my brain, so that doesn't really surprise me.
No. I was kind of secretly hoping that like instead of the DLC, they just did the thing they used to do where it's like, hey, let's release third version of the game that is just an improved version, that is just a very improved version of those first two versions. Your Pokemon Emerald.
That's kind of what it was the last time they did it, right? Because it's like when we got Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it was just like, right, this is just making me think that Sun and Moon was not a finished game, and that's how it would feel with this one too.
yeah, exactly. I was kind of hoping we'd have like, I don't know, Pokemon Magenta or whatever. That's just like, yeah, we fixed everything. It's finished now. And I'm like, but no, they went with the DLC, so we are working off the janky ass OGs, but you know, we've long since accepted that Scar and Violet are jank as fuck.
Cool.
It's still pretty fun, honestly. I like that.
But similar to the Hogwarts stuff, the sales numbers are still there for them to keep fucking ripping people off and having disgusting business practices.
Yeah, boycotts never work. So
fucking
all right. Other things to talk about. Oh, here we go. In this article from AV Club, Disney announces Toy Story 5, Frozen 3, Zootopia 2, and 7,000 layoffs.
Let's go!
I was
such a good headline.
I forgot about that, and I was like happier for it for a little while, and you've just brought me back down to where I was the first time I heard about that.
It's such. I'm sort of like zeitgeistly hopping on the love for this headline because it was pointed out to me like, this is how you write a headline. I was like, what the why would someone be celebrating a news headline? And then I read it and I'm like, no, that's good. There is a lot of apologizing for gross business practices. We see it with Harry Potter, we see it with Pokemon, we see it with fucking layoffs, and it's great to see someone just be like, this is as big a news as the movies, fucking swallow all these pills at once. Because also like it just keeps happening. I keep seeing stuff saying like Apple, for example, hasn't had to do layoffs, and I can verify this from people that I know at Apple, that like there was a hiring freeze much sooner than other companies, and that a lot of the shit that's happening is the result of overhiring because of like weird projections from the pandemic and stuff like that. That doesn't explain why at Microsoft in particular, the people losing the jobs were not the ones that were overhired. It's just, it kind of got spread around all over the fucking company. But don't we know that for the Disney thing, isn't it primarily coming, I don't remember what it is. It's coming primarily from like two very specific groups. Isn't it like Parks and Disney Animation? I have to look that up, but it's 7,000 fucking jobs.
Yeah, I mean,
also just like putting that with like, oh, Disney is making all of these like fucking unnecessary sequels that not a single soul asked for, and it's just like,
it should also be noted that the company's overall revenue from last quarter, they were up 8%. $23.51 billion in revenue. So they didn't need to do this. They had money. They were making money. They just were like, nah.
I think a lot of because, and we talked about this last month, but a lot of this comes out of just like, it's a common practice to appease shareholders to say we're firing people to cut costs, even though when you do severance right and stuff like that short term, it doesn't really cut costs that much. Long term it could, but you'd have to like, it's more complicated than that, and I'm not smart enough to articulate it quickly. But I know that one thing that happened is Disney Plus lost subscribers. And I remember being like, oh, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
For like
they lost me when they fucking told me that my annual payment was going up by $30. I was like, nope, I'm out.
There's something bigger and more when you hear it fucking obvious that really makes you wonder, like, who's making these decisions? Hold on, let me look this up.
Yeah, I mean, with Disney Plus, the reason they lost so many subscribers is because they lost the rights to stream like cricket matches.
Yes.
So like,
yes.
Yeah, that's gonna hit them hard.
So it's not even that the price hike nuked their subscriber numbers. It's they lost a big deal that was huge for their overseas market, because outside of the United States, and especially in Southeast Asia, cricket's fucking enormous.
Cricket rules.
And
I didn't even know that they had.
Friend.
Yeah.
Okay, there are two.
I didn't even know they had streaming rights to that.
Because it doesn't affect most of us here. It's not part of our culture.
There are two world-dominating Goliaths, and they are called football, and I mean real football. You know, what we Americans call soccer and cricket. So
Yeah, and
if you ain't streaming those,
that would be like saying if the only reason people subscribed to Paramount Plus was to get the NFL ticket included, and then they lost the rights to the NFL ticket and everyone canceled Paramount Plus. You wouldn't blame that on Star Trek, Halo, and Sonic. You would blame that on the football thing. And that's not what they're saying about Disney. Like, no, that is not what the headlines are. That's not the justification they're giving for firing people. They're just saying we lost subscribers. And people are saying, like, oh, it's because the MCU is flagging. Oh, it's because this and that. No, it's a very easy A-B connection. And it just, it doesn't, this shouldn't affect it. They I don't know. It's the same thing we talked about last month. Like, all of the reasons for layoffs feel
and every
specious.
month. Yep.
But
so I guess to talk about the movies, Frozen 3 makes sense. Frozen's big.
Round out the trilogy.
Give the kids kids there, Elsa. Go for it. Awesome. Zootopia 2. Heck yeah, I like that movie.
That's good.
Zootopia 2, I would very much like that. Toy Story 5, my dude. Toy Story 3 was already the perfect ending.
So have either
Toy Story 4 was another ending.
That's my thing.
Why do you keep needing to?
I'm of such a split mind about Toy Story 5. All the other shit gone, this just in a vacuum. When they announced Toy Story 4, I was like, why? And then I went to see it, and I was like, I'm convinced. That was a good movie and a story I'm glad was told. It wasn't the climax of Toy Story 3, but I thought it was a nice little thing. Like, it didn't feel as much of a cash-in as I expected it to be. It felt like it had a really nice story for Woody and Bo. And, because that worked, I'm willing to give Toy Story 5 some leniency, but come on!
You know what's really upsetting about this?
What?
Is with Toy Story 5, there will officially be more endings in the Toy Story franchise than not endings.
It's just like, Toy Story 3 or Toy Story 4 would have been perfect endings for Toy Story, but like the fact that there's both of them and it feels so fucking weird.
It feels weird, and
then we're gonna have Toy Story 5.
I mean, here's the thing. Spoiler alert for a 4-year-old movie. The end of Toy Story 4 is Woody fucks off and leaves all the other toys. The whole movie is about Woody realizing he doesn't need to be with the other toys. Pete Docter just came out and said, I think the reason people didn't respond to Lightyear is they're thinking of Woody, Buzz, and Mr. Potato Head, and then we gave them a sci-fi movie. So you have written Woody.
No, the reason people didn't respond to Lightyear is just because
it wasn't very good.
Movie.
It's a weird movie that also nobody had the right expectations for. I haven't seen it. I don't plan to see it. But
it's mid.
If you knew exactly what you were getting into, I'm sure it would be less of a thing. But I imagine that most people that don't pay attention to shit like we do, like parents looking for movies for their kids, are going to be like, where's Woody? I don't want to see this fucking movie. Woody is now apart from Buzz. So you have just stated that this is whether it's correct, this is the lesson your studio, Pete Docter, head of Pixar now, this is the lesson you're learning from the last movie you made set in the Toy Story canon. And your other movie also separated these characters, and you're going to make another one of those, likely also ignoring the lesson that you just said your studio is learning.
Yeah.
I just want to be pitched on it. That's the thing. I want someone to I want someone to convince me that it's worth me yelling this much. Because it's probably not.
All right. Any other news? Let's see. I mean, there was that movie, that Gorillaz movie, the band Gorillaz, where all the they're all animated characters and stuff. They were gonna have a movie.
One of them is the Gangrene Gang from fucking Powerpuff Girls. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I mean, Murdoch might as well be the Gangrene Gang. They even had a music video where the actual Gangrene Gang show up, and it was fun. But yeah, no, they were gonna have a movie, and then Netflix said, no, fuck that. Fuck everything animation. Fuck all the stuff we have going on. So yeah, no.
Surely they must be right. They're still doing fucking what's the fucking ball? League of Legends one. Arcane. They're still doing Arcane, right?
Oh yeah, no, they're still doing Arcane as far as anyone can tell. So yeah.
Yes. I mean, animation is slow and expensive compared to a lot of other forms of making things. Paul Tassi, who's a Forbes contributor that I'm familiar with just because he covers a lot of video game stuff, but he also covers some Netflix stuff, and he posited that there may be a specific, like, the decisions to renew things, because obviously ever since HBO Max, kind of like the layoffs, just like one company sets the precedent of doing something awful and everyone else follows suit in the industry because they're like, ooh, save a few bucks. So I mean, like, fucking no ethics in capitalism. Here we go again. But like like that Netflix's decisions to cancel things that are like super well reviewed isn't just about amount of people checking it out. It's about the number of people that finish it by like a certain time, potentially. So like if people are like taking a long time to work their way through something, even if it's well reviewed and even if it's a lot of people, the completion rate may have something to do with it, because if you didn't finish it, are you really going to tune in for the next season? Which on its surface makes sense, but like it was just like this one guy's analysis, but he was like pulling examples of like, this is the data we do have, and it seems like the things getting canceled have this in common, is completion rate. So like, unless you are Arcane, Wednesday, Stranger Things, you don't really have much of a chance.
It's also like, that's so rude to animation, because like a large part of their fucking audience is children who do not have the freedom to just fucking binge stuff all the time. Like, their schedules are made by other people.
Or I can tell you this from babysitting people, or they watch the same Netflix shows on repeat a billion times and they know every episode by heart. That also happens.
That reminds me, this is something that I'd forgotten about, but as part of this story is the CG animated Masters of the Universe show is one of the casualties of this Netflix animation cancellation. Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Love it.
And yeah,
so that blows.
That's really all I got. Yeah,
cool.
Just generally.
Then let's take it into the ratings, so I can enjoy one last night before this week of Destiny hell rains upon me. The rating section is where we like to join up in the editor's room and pick a top story. So we obviously just wax poetic about a lot of different things, but we always like to stop and regroup at the end, make a list of everything we talked about, and try to come to a consensus, the three of us. If you were to walk away from this conversation with one story, one thing to follow up on, one thing to tell your friends about, one thing to start your own freelance journalism career and write an op-ed about, what is that going to be? Let's figure out our top story together. So if I'm going to nominate something, the only broad story this month is the fucking Hogwarts thing, and I wish it wasn't.
And like considering the sentence you just said, you know, bring it up to your friends, build your op-ed journalism career on. I wouldn't do that. I don't want to talk about Hogwarts anymore. I'm done with Hogwarts. I'm on limit with Harry Potter.
I'm content with this being the extent to which I discuss the game ever.
Yeah.
So I think on the unique universal vibe of all of us hated talking about it and don't want to talk about it again, let's not make that our top story. So what the fuck else did we talk about?
I mean, I feel like the next most important thing is the goddamn Disney layoffs, but that's just like fucking every month is more bullshit, just exactly like that. Yeah,
just a bummer. Yeah. I mean, I'm down to like put Advance Wars as my thing, but I know that's just appeals to me personally.
That's the same reason I can't
put such good memories of Advance Wars.
I mean, yeah, for the same reason I cannot reasonably suggest that Metroid Prime Remastered is the most important piece of news this month. I think I wrung every
Therefore, it's gotta be Lego Rivendell.
That makes me feel the best.
Lego Rivendell.
That makes me, of all the things we talk about, I feel the best thinking about it.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it.
In a world, we didn't even fucking mention that Warner Brothers is coming up with a whole fucking new slate of Lord of the Rings movies. Let us cherish.
Oh shit, that's right.
Oh no, you soured it, Colin. You soured it.
No, this is an opportunity.
About...
This is an opportunity to share something from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And if you're looking at the fucking controversial mess of the Hobbit trilogy, Rivendell is still beautiful and wonderful there too. Rivendell is an untouched gem in the middle of Middle Earth. And I want to see it in Lego, and I am absolutely going to push my friend to get it. So if nothing else makes us happy, and if anyone does watch this and ever like is actually taking our advice, pull up a picture of this fucking big Lego beauty, this big plastic boy on your phone.
So fucking pretty.
And show it to your friends and say,
so
like,
good
I don't
looking.
have $400, but this is kind of cool.
That fucking gazebo, though. The gazebo.
God.
They made a fucking gazebo.
I love a gazebo. I'm a nice guy sometimes. I deserve to be happy a couple inches off the ground, you know? I stole that joke from Modern Family. That's not me.
Oh, that's a good joke. Good joke, Modern Family.
But Modern Family, pretty fucking funny show. Let me tell you that. I think, honestly, in terms of vibes and broad appeal, it's the only thing that isn't fucking depressing or fucking niche, because everybody likes Rivendell. Everybody likes Rivendell. So
most people even like Lego, you know.
Most people like Lego and Rivendell. Two great tastes that taste great in my friend's living room. I'm content making that our top story.
You know, yeah, no, I'll put my chip
about the
in
least
for that.
Love it.
Okay, cool.
All right, Lego fucking Rivendell.
Lego Rivendell. You heard, we have exhausted ourselves talking about these fucking
my
things.
Vote. And my vote.
And my 2x4.
That was the only thing that happened this month. Weird.
That was it. Lego fucking knocked it out of the park today. Wow. I'm sure there are other small things we didn't talk about.
Oh yeah, Pikmin 4 got announced, and shown. So like, I guess I could have talked about that, and that's actually a pretty big thing.
Yeah, Pikmin Bloom, is that still doing well though? I feel like Pikmin could ride that for a while.
I think it's doing well, Pikmin Bloom, but like, you know, Pikmin 4 is like another installment of the series that hasn't gotten another big installment since what was it, 10 years? I don't know, man.
Oh, yeah, another thing that happened this month in Geek News, Ant-Man Quantumania came out, and I'm gonna say this, it sucked balls. It was terrible. I hated it so much. I didn't like it at all. I like MODOK. I heard people bitching about MODOK. Yeah. Give me a movie of MODOK. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, I kind of just said, I think I'll pass on this one.
Wait for it to come out on Disney Plus, but you might not have it because they.
Well, that won't work for me anymore.
Yeah. No, Ant-Man Quantumania. It was a joyless slog of a movie with absolutely no focus at all.
Although fucking, oh my god, you know the double-edged sword with the Disney Plus thing. I was just like, okay, well, unsubscribed. I've got till the end of the month, right? So I'm gonna watch some stuff that I've been putting off. So I fucking started watching Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which is fucking great, by the way.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that was a good show.
And then I found out that it was coming out weekly, so I won't be able to finish.
That's fine. That maybe I'll give you my login. I don't know much about Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur. All I know is I have never run a Moon Girl Devil Dino deck in Marvel Snap, but they piss me off unless I'm running Rogue. Marvel Snap's still fun. I'm still playing it.
Yeah, no. Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur, very, very cute cartoon. I'd recommend it.
I will probably check that out. But that about wraps it up for the month. I am about to go into a Destiny fucking frenzy because, as always, I'm trying to monetize my hobbies, and unfortunately, I've succeeded with this one. So the next 2 weeks for me are going to be a goddamn nightmare. So I'm going to be counting on you guys to bring some interesting stories when we recap March, because I will be a zombie. I will be a new light zombie.
Hopefully March brings something not a bummer as fuck.
Yeah, not a bummer as fuck. What is March's Lego Rivendell going to be? What is the March Lego Rivendell? That's what we're looking forward to. But that's it. I have been Colin. If you enjoyed this at all, you can find more of us at different places. Lately, I have just started doing work for a channel on YouTube called As to Cross Gaming. My opinions here do not reflect those of Astrocross. Don't know if I need to say that, but I'm going to just in case. But some of my videos are now out on the channel, and that is part of why I'm going to be inundated with Destiny on top of my own channel, which just got what I need to be monetized. So in probably 6 fucking weeks, I can start making money off of Destiny myself. So that's what I'm doing. And then in April, I can be a human again.
Good luck with that. I've been Jeff. I have a YouTube channel where I do toy reviews. That's Alchemist Prime Reviews. I just started a new Instagram account where I'm posting just like toy related stuff. That is toys and art with a dot between each. And I fucking posted to my other Instagram for the first time in like 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did follow the toys and art one.
That is
delightful. It is delightful.
Trying to do that as well. That's things I wish existed with a dot between each word, where I put up art stuff.
Wahoo!
Very occasionally.
Hi, I'm Timul or Chowder, whichever you prefer. You can find me on Twitter at Timul_Chowder. But you know, Twitter's fucking imploding right now. It's just slowly rotting. So
they took away
there's a good chance,
SMS multi-factor authentication for free. Who does that?
What the fuck? I don't know, man. Anyways, I do technically have a Tumblr account that I started, but I haven't really like done anything with it. So you know, I'll tell you about my Tumblr when it's like worth saying anything.
I'll get back on Tumblr when they give me back the porn. I've never had a Tumblr account.
Anyways, you can also find me on our sister podcast, Dice Populi, where you know, stuff is happening.
No, I'm pretty excited about what we're doing next, mostly because it'll make my life a little bit easier for a bit. Maybe. We'll see. Who the fuck knows? Every time I'm like, oh, this will make my life easier, I always inevitably complicate it. Speaking of which, I am going to either go try to cash in on my terrible Last of Us bargain, or play Metroid Prime Remastered. Either way, the things we talked about today are going to carry me through the rest of the night. Have a nice one, guys. I wish I had a better sign off of that, but we'll be back next month to recap the news from March and figure out what the Lego Rivendell is going to be. Ciao. Messed it up. Let's stop recording and hope I didn't fuck it up. Bye, everybody.